I walked into the bank expecting to be back in my car within 10 minutes. I smiled, handed the teller my debit card, and asked for $400. She typed for a few seconds, then suddenly went silent. The color drained from her face. Without meeting my eyes, she whispered, "Please wait here," before disappearing behind a door. My pulse quickened as employees exchanged uneasy glances in my direction. A man in a suit approached, introduced himself as the branch manager, and politely asked me to follow him. Inside a private office, a thick file with my last name was already waiting on the desk. What had they found? A family Karma Effect viewers. Help our small family reach 100 subscribers. 1 subscription, 1 like, and a small comment mean a lot to us ER. The office felt unusually quiet, broken only by the soft hum of the air conditioner. The branch manager closed the door, then calmly asked me to confirm my full name, date of birth and my late father's name. Each answer made him glance at the worn file resting beside. Several unfamiliar documents. No one looked directly at me anymore. My mouth went dry as I noticed faded signatures and a yellowed envelope tucked inside the folder. I searched their faces for an explanation, but found only hesitation. Finally, the manager took a slow breath and said, "There's something you deserve to see." My heart immediately sank. The branch manager slid a stack of statements across the desk and pointed to an account number I had never seen before. Yet every document carried my family's surname. Small deposits and withdrawals stretched back nearly 20 years, all approved under unusual instructions. My hands trembled as he carefully placed an unopened envelope beside the records. The paper had yellowed with age, but my late father's handwriting was unmistakable. I stared at it, unable to breathe for a moment. If he had written this before he died, why had no one ever told me it existed? The answer felt closer than ever, yet painfully out of reach. I left the bank carrying copies of the records, unable to think about anything else. That evening, I spread legal documents and faded family photographs across my kitchen table. Every phone call uncovered another missing piece. Dates didn't match the stories I had grown up believing, and familiar signatures appeared where they never should have. With every discovery, cherished memories began to feel carefully rehearsed instead of real. The person I trusted most seemed to have guided every important decision in my life while hiding something enormous. Then my phone rang again, and the caller spoke a name I hadn't heard since my father's funeral. The final legal papers removed every remaining doubt. Years before his death, my father had created an agreement placing valuable assets in my name, protected until specific conditions were met. Someone had kept that truth buried for decades. Within days, relatives who had barely returned my calls suddenly appeared, with warm smiles and emotional apologies. They spoke about family, forgiveness, and second chances, but their eyes kept drifting toward the documents resting on my table. I listened in silence, torn between old memories and fresh betrayal. As they waited for my answer, I realized the hardest decision had nothing to do with the money at all. When I finally confronted them, the room fell painfully quiet. I placed the bank records, the old letter, and the legal agreement on the table without saying a word. No one denied what the documents revealed. Instead, excuses filled the silence. They spoke of protecting me, avoiding conflict, and keeping the family together. But every explanation carried the weight of fear and greed. I realized the lies had started long before I was old enough to question them. For the first time, I didn't argue or seek approval. I simply gathered the papers, stood up, and walked away knowing the truth no longer belonged to them. It belonged to me. As I stepped out of the bank, the afternoon sun felt warmer than I remembered. The envelope in my hand weighed almost nothing, yet it carried the truth that had been hidden from me for years. I had walked in expecting $400 and walked out with a completely different understanding of my family and myself. Some questions would never be answered, and some relationships would never be repaired. Surprisingly, I had made peace with that. For the first time, my future was no longer shaped by someone else's decisions or silence. It was shaped by my own choices, and that freedom was worth more than any inheritance.